والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانهر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
That was a great recitation by Brother Ali Jawad. Without further ado, we'll have Haji Jalal Moughania with his speech. But before that, I didn't give his bio yesterday, so we'll start with that today, and then we'll start his salam to Bibi Fatima. So, Haji is an international lawyer, author, and lecturer with different disciplines in fields of law, business, and faith and culture. He has legal experience, spanned big law in Michigan. He's working think tanks across North America and the Middle East. And right now in his study of Islam, he has been translating and authoring several original works of Islam and of history and its society. These works are self-understanding, have been produced with intentional focus on providing accessibility to the native English reader and to the Islamic thought and Muslim paradigms. For example, he has translated Grand Atala al-Hakim, the Marjia, a Canon Conversation. This is actually a book I actually read myself, and I didn't know he authored this book until like today. And other books he co-authored or he translated were by Ayatollah Shamsuddin, The Course of History, A Study in the Peak of Eloquence. These projects have been through a huge vetting process through different ulama and alims in the holy cities of Najd and Qom. Jalal Moughania has dedicated his life to helping out in the way of Islam and in the way of the Ahl al-Bayt with different books like Ali, the Elixir of Love, Hussein, the Saga of Hope, and a third respective book about Bibi Fatima called Fatima, the Flower of Life. So without further ado, he's a well-educated man with well interest in helping the English speaker in Islam and with co-authoring books, translating books from Arabic to English. So we'll start with his salam to Bibi Fatima alayhi salam. Wa Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat.
That's good. Thank you so much. Perfect. You're the man. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And a second time, in love of Our Lady Fatima alayhi salam, salawat. And the third time, for the hastening of the reappearance of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب والحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. In the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful, we ask Allah to again send His greatest peace and blessings upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We praise Allah for all the blessings He has given us, and the greatest blessing being that He allowed us to be of the ones who remain steadfast, dedicated, and loyal on the path of our Master after the Prophet, the commander of the faithful, the prince of the believers, the protector of the Prophet and his message, Al-Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. We praise Allah for this blessing and every blessing, for without Allah, we would have nothing. Assalamu alaikum, my dear respected brothers, my dear respected sisters, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're coming together thirsty. We're coming together thirsty. We're coming together thirsty. You and I, we have the luxury that any time we want to quench our thirst, we can literally just extend our hand, reach out for a bottle of water, and just drink. It's always there for us. It's rare to be in a situation where when we're thirsty, we don't have the ability to quench that thirst. Now I have a question for you. And this isn't a rhetorical one. If you guys remember, whoever was here yesterday, I don't ask many rhetorical questions. I actually want to know what you think. So I just gave this literal example of thirst when it comes to being thirsty for water. Extending your hand, grabbing the bottle, and drinking it. If I tell you there's something that exists called spiritual thirst, does that resonate with you? Who here, when I say spiritual thirst, you kind of know or have an idea of what I'm talking about? I'm spiritually thirsty. You can probably think of something, right? It doesn't have to be a completely mature thought. Who here, when I say spiritual thirst, it means something in your head. Spiritual thirst. Okay. Who here believes that when you're spiritually thirsty, you can extend your hand and drink right away to quench your spiritual thirst? Who here believes that I can quench my spiritual thirst very quickly? Who here believes I can't quench my spiritual thirst very quickly? It's harder than to pick up that. Okay. I'm here to tell you, no. It's just as simple as extending your hand for this bottle of water and drinking. The problem is not in the existence of the water. The problem is not in the supply of the water. The problem is you and I, when it comes to drinking spiritually, we close our mouths and we expect to be quenched. The blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the faith from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the grace from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad is overflowing. Overflowing constantly. The hujjah of Allah, the proof of Allah on this earth continues to give us those blessings, so that for those who are thirsty, all you have to do is open your heart, open your mind, open your eyes to Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and you will be quenched. Allahumma salli. Tonight, building off of the frameworks that we established yesterday, for those who were with us yesterday, we did a little bit of some mindset shifting, some paradigm adjustment when it comes to the way you see your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is ultimately the truth. La ilaha illallah is the ultimate truth that we wish to live, we wish to have. And there was nobody that understood and manifested the lifestyle, the living of La ilaha illallah more than Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And for us, they are the light of guidance, that ship of salvation. They are the quenchers of thirst. They are the ones who take you to the destination. Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Now, there were people throughout history, as early as the days of the Prophet himself, that shifted the focus of people and injected their own personal opinions. And in fact, a whole school of thought would develop called Madrasat al-Ra'i. A whole school of thought would develop called Madrasat al-Ra'i, which you find in some schools within Islam today, this injection of juristic opinion, al-Ra'i. Opinion comes in. Some call it reasoning, but it's coming from the individual jurist, the individual scholar. That they're reasoning, saying that in addition to the Holy Quran and in addition to the Sunnah, there's an opinion. The jurist has an opinion. Now, this is in contrast to the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are madrasatun nas. We go back to the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. What did the Prophet do? When you're looking at your relationship with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, you and I, as followers of Ahlul Bayt, as Shia, we need to pride ourselves on following Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. Because this love that we have, this adoration, this admiration, this dedication, this loyalty, this commitment to Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, is because of what? Is because Rasulullah told us, in order to become a Muslim, you and I, brothers and sisters, in order to be a Muslim, what do you have to do? What do you have to say? If you say this one statement, you are a Muslim. Doesn't matter about your past, doesn't matter about your history, doesn't matter where you came from. You say this one statement, has two parts to it, you become a Muslim. What is it? Shahada. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah. In order for you to get to la ilaha illallah, to be a Muslim, you have to bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, in our prayers every single day, what do we say? Ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasuluh. His servant and his messenger, his slave and his messenger. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi is what? The messenger of God, the servant of God, the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The greatest honor. Now I want to bring it all together for you. When we're thinking of us as followers of Ahlul Bayt, as lovers of Ali, as admirers of Fatima alayhi salam, do you know what Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen, do you know what he said about Rasulullah? People asked him. People saw the miraculous life of Ali. They saw that Ali ibn Abi Talib was the only one, the only person in history to be born in the Kaaba itself. They saw Ali ibn Abi Talib as a young boy, a young man, having the valor and the courage of 20 men and more. They saw that when everyone ridiculed Rasulullah, mocked him, shamed him, Ali ibn Abi Talib stood next to him as a young man, as a teenager. They saw Ali ibn Abi Talib do things that men twice and three times his age would not have the bravery to do. They saw Ali as the only supporter that Rasulullah actually needed. They saw Ali ibn Abi Talib in every battle that the Muslims faced in this young community. When they left Mecca in their hijrah, their migration to protect their lives, to protect their faith, they saw Ali ibn Abi Talib at the forefront of every single battle. Badr, Uhud, Khaybar. Ali ibn Abi Talib, when all the Muslims go forward, battalions go forward, dozens of men go forward to try to break down the gate of Khaybar and penetrate this fortress, that the enemies that have breached their accords with Rasulullah, they say, we're safe. Ali ibn Abi Talib single-handedly plucks the gate of Khaybar like you'd pluck a flower out of a flower bed. Later on in his life, people ask him, Ya Ali, you have all this greatness, all of these feats. And they asked him about his status in comparison to the greats before him. And our narrations that speak to this spoke of Ali ibn Abi Talib in what Rasulullah told him of his status in comparison of the greats before him, the prophets and the saints. From Adam and Nuh to Ibrahim, Musa and Isa. And Ali ibn Abi Talib told them, Rasulullah told me I'm greater than them. Because remember, nothing from Ali is from himself, from his whim, from his desire. It is all from Rasulullah. And nothing from Rasulullah is from his whim, from his desire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he does not speak out of whim. It is nothing but revelation. So when Ali ibn Abi Talib is telling us of all of this greatness, they're asking him, Ya Ali, you're better than this? You're better? Yes, Rasulullah told me. Then they ask him the question, Ya Ali, what of you in comparison to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi? The immediate response from Ali is what? Wayhak. Warning. Wayhak. Ana abdun min abidi Muhammad. I'm going to repeat. وَيْحَكْ أَنَا عَبْدٌ مِّنْ عَبِيدِ مُحَمَّدٍ. Woe unto you, I am a servant from the servants of Muhammad. صلوا على محمد. اللهم صل على. What does this tell you, my dear brothers and sisters? That you, in your love of Ali ibn Abi Talib, what does it take you to? It takes you to the service and the servitude to Muhammad, the helm, the king of Ahlul Bayt. When we're looking at Ahlul Bayt, my dear brothers and sisters, there is no Ahlul Bayt without its chief, without its father, without Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's who we love when we go to. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us his family by the divine order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the last pilgrimage, the farewell pilgrimage, after they went, they finished, they were going back to Medina. What happened? They stopped in a land called Ghadir Khum. At this watering place, they stopped. Rasulullah gathered all the people by divine order, and he said, إِنِّي تَارِكُمْ فِيكُمْ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. الثَّقَلَيْن or الثِّقْلَيْن. The two weighty things. The book of God and my family. You hold on to these two things, you'll never stray after me. Now, when we're looking at all of this, when we're seeing all of this, we're emphasizing all of this. Others emphasized other things. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, as followers of Ahlul Bayt, we need to realize something. You and I need to live outside of a victim mindset. You and I, yes, we inherited a history of oppression and persecution. Ask your families. Ask your parents and your grandparents. Ask the scholars in our school of thought. The oppression and the persecution that people have experienced all over the world just for what? Being a Shi'i. Just for being a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We see a lot of oppression today. We've seen a lot of oppression throughout history. We need to be mindful when it comes to this oppression. What kind of mindset do we have, and how did Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam deal with all of it? Did they victimize themselves? Did they always say, woe is me? Absolutely not. They endured the greatest challenges, and they persevered for what purpose? To protect Islam. لحفظ الدين وحفظ الدماء. To protect Islam and to protect what? I want you to realize something here tonight. You may have come with family, you may have come with friends, you may be sitting next to somebody you don't know. I want you just for a brief moment, right? And naturally there's going to be smiles and a little bit of chuckling because we just don't know how to look at each other these days. Look to your right, look to your left. Real quick, look to your right, look to your left. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Oh wow, you're here? Intihan? Ahla sahla. Okay, beautiful. All right? Great. Now stay with me. Come back. The person to your right and the person to your left, yes, even that person, has a sanctity. Has a sanctity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi taught us that the sanctity of the believer is greater than the sanctity of the Kaaba itself. Al-Mu'min has a hurma, has a sanctity. So you and I, the way we not only treat one another, but the way we look at one another. When you're looking at someone, pay attention. When you're looking at someone, I want you to even monitor your thought. Sometimes as you grow in faith, in education, in profession, in success, you begin to look at other people in a different way. You begin to see, I'm accomplished. I understand. I got it. See some of the things you're talking about Ahlul Bayt? Yeah, I get it. Alhamdulillah, wilaya, we got this, right? And then you start looking at other people in your community or even outside of your community, and you say, well, they don't get it. They don't understand. You may not say it, you may not even formulate the words in your mind, but there's a feeling of, I'm better, right? I'm better than the person who isn't educated, who didn't get to the level of success that I have, who doesn't have the level of understanding, who doesn't have the level of love and commitment to Ahlul Bayt, who doesn't serve the way I serve. I'm better, right? Our Imams, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he was speaking to one of the individuals in history who became known as the leaders of the school of thought that I mentioned earlier, Madrasat al-Ra'i, of juristic opinion, Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa was the founder of the Hanafi jurisprudential school of thought. In Sunni Islam, there's 4 madhabs: Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Our jurisprudential school of thought is 12er Shia, is Imamiyya Ithna Ashariya Shia, is Ja'fari. Ahsantum. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, 2 of these founders of the madhahib from Ahl Sunnah, 2 of them were students of his. They came and attended classes of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik. From Malik, he had a student, the founder of the Shafi'i school. And the founder of the Shafi'i school had a student, the founder of the Hanbali school. So either students or the students of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam were founders of the 4 madhabs that we have from our brothers and sisters in the Sunni school of thought. Now Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam had a conversation with Abu Hanifa one day, examining and testing his jurisprudential results. Because Abu Hanifa was one of who exercised al-ra'i, personal opinion. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam did not do such a thing. They emphasize al-Quran wal-Hadith. What does the Quran say? What does the Holy Prophet ﷺ say? Not your personal opinion. Where are you getting this? Abu Hanifa, it's said that he valued his personal opinion and he exercised it. When Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam would tell him, even the use, whether it be his personal opinion or even the exercise of another tool that Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam don't use either, called qiyas, the analogy. In deducing the jurisprudential rulings, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam came with a series of analysis with him and told him, Abu Hanifa, you must be careful. The first one to practice qiyas was none other than shaitan, none other than Iblis. What did Iblis tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, bow before Adam? He said, I'm better than him. Why am I going to bow before him? Why won't you bow? I'm better than him. Why should I bow before him when you created me from fire and you created him from clay, and fire is better than clay? I will only bow before you. So you and I, when we're thinking we're getting good, on the path, making progress, success, dunya wa akhirah, success in all aspects. MashaAllah, you're doing well in your business, finished your education, you got a new job, you got a raise, you got married, you got kids, you got a nice house, especially in New York. It's really expensive. You're making action, making movements, MashaAllah, and then you're on your deen too. MashaAllah, you're coming to the majalis, beautiful. You're donating to the center, MashaAllah. You're doing all of this stuff, and then you're looking at the other people in your life, that you left behind. You're like, I'm better than them. So, what did you find? Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Syria always finds a way to make problems. Brothers and sisters, when we examine the principles of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, yes, alhamdulillah, we are on the path of wilayah. We are on the path and service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and their love. But it's not hard for us to slip and fall into the mistakes of those who are not on that path. Whether it goes from the likes of Satan, Iblis, who, by the way, we have narrations that tell us in Bihar al-Anwar, it's narrated that Satan, Iblis, Shaitan, had a prostration. One of his prostrations was the equivalent of 3,000 years. He was a great worshiper. The problem is he wasn't really worshiping Allah. He was worshiping his ego. I'm going to say that again. The problem was he wasn't really truly worshiping Allah. He was worshiping his ego. So you and I, when it comes to our worship, when it comes to our rituals, when it comes to the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, that is ultimately supposed to take us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why are you doing it? Is it for Allah? Is it fi sabilillah? Is it to humble you, ground you, make you better, refine that person that you're trying to be? Or is it because you want to feel good in a certain way? How many of us, when we go to our prayers, we start doubting ourselves and the effectiveness of our prayers when we say, man, I don't feel it. Who here has had to feel like, I'm praying, but I'm not feeling it? Don't raise your hand for this one. How many of you, just think about this, how many of you have thought, what's the point if I'm not feeling it? How many have even contemplated stopping praying because they're not feeling it? They feel like it's useless. Now, some of you may be shaking your head, and good, shake your head. Because the point of prayer is not for us to feel it. The point of prayer is to pray. You are not praying for the feeling. You are not praying for some idea of spirituality. My dear brothers and sisters, do not be duped into thinking that spirituality is a feeling. Spirituality is a commitment. Spirituality is a discipline. Spirituality is, oh Allah, even though I am numb, I'm still coming back. You will raise me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He is looking at His servant, is He looking at His servant that I am giving you this to give you a certain feeling? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us this opportunity of servitude so that we become better for ourselves. Because guess what, my dear brothers and sisters? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you challenges in life beyond the test of if you're feeling your prayer or not. He's going to give you challenges in life where it's going to be hard. You have to show up to a job that maybe you don't like. Maybe you're not inspired by. Maybe people are mean to you, rude to you, belittling you. It's not easy. It's hard to work this job. But guess what? You have a family to support. As a man, I have to support my family, no matter what. I cannot make excuses as a man not to support my obligation. It's my obligation. If I have a supportive wife, excellent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rewarding her for all the extra credit she's putting in to the relationship, to the household. But as a man, I have to provide. I have to provide and make sure that my home is one of security and stability for my wife, for my children. خيمة. الأب خيمة. The father in a home is a tent, is a covering, is a shelter. The mother in a home, the wife in a home. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God bless our mothers, God bless our wives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with all they endure, more and more and more and more thawab. More and more. We are responsible. The discipline that you have in your prayer helps you get through the rest of the challenges of your day. And God bless our men. Go in, day out. Many of us have trauma that we can't speak about. Many of us are enduring problems and challenges that we can't go home to our families and talk about. It's hard. It's not easy being a man. I know. I go through my own challenges. I go through my own struggles. To provide, to be there, sometimes in silence, it's not easy. But what I want you to realize is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He's calling on you every single day, He's giving you the opportunity to refine that discipline in your life so you are stronger in meeting those challenges. I've faced things that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemies. And I'm sure you have faced your own struggles. But I'll tell you time and time again, you know what carried me through? By the way, a lot of the struggles are just here. I kid you not. A lot of the struggles are just here, inside. They're internal. How are you dealing with situations? Nobody may know about it. But you know what carries us through? Ahlul Bayt alayhim. Over and over again. And be wary of this. I'm going to bring it full circle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling you to pray to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to hear from you. I don't care if you haven't prayed in years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still waiting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still going to welcome you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is never going to push you away. You have a Lord that loves you. You have a Lord that has blessed you with the mercy to mankind. His greatest creation, His beloved. He called Him my Habib. Habibullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave us Him. Now, by the way, I want you to see something. Your religion of Islam, anybody that tells you our religion is a mechanical one, anyone that tells you our religion is a robotical one, you get up, you pray, you have to do this, it's a religion of do's and don'ts. Yes, it's a religion of frameworks, it's a religion of boundaries, it's a religion of limitations, yes. Just like any person who is successful, go to the most successful businessman and businesswoman, go to the most successful fitness professionals, go to the most successful coaches on every level. They're going to tell you, you need frameworks, you need limitations, you need boundaries, you need to set goals, you need to follow a regimen, man, if you want to be successful. But guess what? With all of that, there's so much love, so much love, so much mercy, so much grace. Any slip you make at any point in time, you can go back. Now someone's like, whoa, what do you mean? So basically I can just do a bunch of wrong things and tell God, Ya Allah, I'm sorry, and then go back. Listen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is willing to take you back at any time. It's up to you and the chance that you take and how many times you're going to go back and forth before you don't have any more time left. Does anybody here know exactly how long they're going to live? No. Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he said that al-Masa is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has that knowledge. You and I, we're taking our chances. Now, this mercy, this love, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willing to take you at any time. Through what framework? Through Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. On the Prophet's deathbed. On the Prophet's deathbed. He told his people, there were a bunch of companions around him, he told his people, someone grab me something to write on and something to write with. I wish to give you some advice so that you may never stray after me. Now, Ghadir just happened weeks ago. Weeks ago. But the Prophet loved his people so much. He wanted to guide them even further and make it so evident. Half of the people that were sitting there said, go and let's grab something. The other half were saying, you better not grab anything. And then they were bickering amongst one another until one person said, leave the man. Leave the man. He's delirious. And in some narrations, there's an additional part that is very consequential to what? Madrasat al-Ra'i, the school of opinion, which was Hasbuna Kitabullah. What does that mean? The book of God is sufficient for us. We don't need anything else written by this man. Mind you, by the way, the Prophet himself, which all of the schools of thought, all of us in Islam, historically, this incident took place. The fact that the Prophet was asking for something to write with and write on automatically does what? Nullifies the ill-informed notion that our Prophet was illiterate. Our Prophet was not illiterate. Our Prophet was unschooled, meaning no one taught him. He was self-taught. The Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not have a formal education in anyone's school, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired him. When Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asking for something to write on and write with, a person said, as the two sides were bickering, leave the man, he's delirious, he's hallucinating. Hasbuna kitabullah, the book of God is sufficient for us. At that point, the Prophet, the narration says, he became so visibly angry, he asked them all to leave. All to leave. Now, how do you and I take from this? What do we do? When the Holy Prophet at this time is emphasizing what? He's emphasizing the book of God and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Let's see in the house, brother. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He's emphasizing the book of God and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And others are saying, we don't want it. The unfortunate reality, and this is why we stress studying history, not for us brothers and sisters, please realize this. And this was a point I was trying to make earlier. As followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, our emphasis is on Rasulullah. It's on Muhammad wa al Muhammad. We were going back to try to understand, what did the Prophet require of us? Because we are servants of his, we are followers of his. So when someone is saying, we're just good with the book of God, and is leaving the Prophet, that you can make your own characterization of that. It's not at all to make a sectarian conversation, but rather as Muslims, as ones that say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, we're trying to get to the core of things so we can understand, we can follow and lead God-centric, faith-based, and purpose-driven lives. That's what we want to do. That's the whole point. So when you and I, brothers and sisters, we're trying to say, okay, what do we do with this now? What do we go forward with? How do we move at this point? Because I'll tell you, online today, who here is on social media? Instagram, Facebook. My hands went down when I said Facebook, right? Instagram, Facebook, you keep your hands up. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. What else is there? You know, okay, Instagram. That's the one thing I got right. TikTok, okay, right? So we got these social media platforms. Unfortunately, sometimes when we're posting on these platforms or sharing on these platforms, we see interactions with other Muslims, with our brothers and sisters from different schools of thought. Who here has seen some of those not so friendly conversations? Accusations and, right? Okay. Now you and I, brothers and sisters, we need to make sure that as followers of Ahlul Bayt, I don't want you to be prepared in answering people's accusations or questions. I want you to answer them for yourself. Your understanding for yourself and what you believe. Because all the time I get brothers and sisters messaging me like, Hajj, what should I say to this? Oh, did you see what they said on this? I'm like, no, I didn't, because I don't waste my time on it. Like, did you see what they put on that thread, on that post that you made, Hajj? I mean, they're like hundreds of comments. I'm like, no, because I'm busy doing everything else that I'm doing. Even if it's honestly creating more content so that we can share more love for Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. It's as simple as that. But I don't ignore it with ignoring the concepts and the ideas. It's important for you and I, when, for example, when people say, oh, you're saying Ya Ali, you're saying Ya Zahra, you're saying Ya Hussein, shirk. You cannot call on anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is shirk when you call upon anything independent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, this is my Lord and this is my sustainer. But if you know the relationship that we have with Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, it is, Ya Allah, I know this is your wali, this is your Habib, this is your beloved, this is your vicegerent, your viceroy, the guardian that you've given us. And because you've given us this, we go through them to please you. That's it. A person who thinks that we call Ya Ali independent of Ya Allah, that's a misguided call to Ya Ali. Ya Ali is, Ya Ali, help me with the strength that you have in lifting the gate of Khaybar. Ali ibn Abi Talib, it's narrated that Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen, after he lifted the gate of Khaybar, after the battle, the Muslims are celebrating. Everyone's pumped. Everyone's chanting. Everyone's like so excited. Man, look what we just did. Not what you just did, what Ali just did. Right? So then they come and they're celebrating, and then they're all eating. Imam Ali alayhi salam, as he did, the champion that he was, took a piece of bread. His diet was simple. Simple diet. Took a piece of bread. A loaf. It's hard, stale. Days old. Not like us. Me, there's no fresh bread. I'm not going to eat the bread. Spoiled. Imam Ali alayhi salam looks, alhamdulillah, loaf of bread, champion's meal, takes it. He wants to piece it. He wants to break it. It was really hard. So he broke it on his knee. The warriors are looking. Ali, you just lifted the gate of Khaybar. A piece of bread. You break it on your knee? They're confused. It's narrated that Imam Ali alayhi salam would smile back and tell them, this piece of bread is for myself. The gate of Khaybar is for Allah. How can you not call out Ya Ali? Nahna, I want you to realize something. Do not shy away from who you are. People will attack you. People will humiliate you. They will try to disgrace you. They will call you names. For centuries, we've been called names. And for centuries, we smile back. Why? Why? Habibi, because I'm the one, as a follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib, I know what suffering is. We know what it means to endure. We know what it means to sacrifice. We know what it means to look at the bigger picture. We know what it means when Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the champion that he was, when those who said Hasbuna Kitabullah days later after the Prophet's death would then take the Khilafah. History, guys, brothers and sisters, history. When we're looking at this, we're only looking at it from a historical standpoint to understand how things transpired. This is not in animosity to our brothers and sisters in different schools that revere other individuals. Not at all. And of course, we have to approach these conversations publicly with sensitivity. And we say this acknowledging there's different versions when you're going to different people. But when you dig deeply into our books of history and you're seeing the narrations across all schools of thought, the history points in one direction. So when you have individuals that said Hasbuna Kitabullah, then go on to take on a caliphate that would replace the same individual that was given allegiance by those same people in Ghadir Khum weeks prior. How do you consolidate all of this? Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam gives it to us simply and plainly. You know what he said? When they took his rights, they attacked his home. They took his rights. They attacked his home. The love of his life, Fatima alayhi salam, was oppressed, killed. His children were terrorized. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, he told them, I will give up of everything. لأسلمن ما سلمت أمور المسلمين. I will give up everything so long as the affairs of the Muslims are in order. So long as no harm goes on to anyone but me. There was a khususiyya for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. It particularly took away his rights. He said, I'm willing to give that up so long as what? Islam is protected. The body of Islam is protected. Why? Islam was in its infancy. Brothers and sisters, Islam, how long had it been? How long had it been? The Prophet ﷺ, the proclamation of his message was in 610 AD. The Prophet ﷺ, when did he die? 632 AD. It was just 22 years. The Prophet dies. The Caliphate comes. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam faces a situation. What do you do with all of that? How do you deal with all of that? Ali ibn Abi Talib made it clear. And it was hard. It was not easy. It was not easy to look at the injustice and the oppression that was taking place and to sacrifice and to say to those individuals, I will be at bay. Because the Prophet warned Imam Ali, told him, this is what's going to happen. They will turn against you and you must be patient. For what purpose? حفظ الدين حفظ الدماء. Always Ahlul Bayt were thinking, and this is where I want you, and inshallah tomorrow we're going to look into it a little bit more deeply. Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam were always looking at these two priorities, and this is why you see every single one of our imams, in dealing with oppression and injustice, in dealing with the challenges of their time, they were so strategic about it. Whatever they did was to protect Islam. So sometimes you found, in fact, the majority of the time you found Imam Ali alayhi salam did not fight against the first, the second, and the third. Muawiyah, when he challenged Imam Ali alayhi salam, and then challenged Imam Hassan alayhi salam after the death, the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, what would result? A peace accord. Why? حفظ الدين وحفظ الدماء, protecting the religion and protecting the blood of the believers. Imam Al-Khoei alayhi salam would uphold the peace accord only until the very end with Imam Al-Khoei alayhi salam, when there was no other option. You had what happened in Karbala. And what happened at Karbala at that time was for what purpose? حفظ الدين وحفظ Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, all of the Imams. حفظ الدين وحفظ الدماء. What does that tell us? Do you know how special this religion is? That your Imam did everything to protect it. And do you realize how special you are as a believer? That they did everything to protect your life. Do you know how hard it is for the Imam to put you in any kind of harm's way? The last result, even at Karbala, who here is a lover of Imam Al-Khoei? Who here loves Imam Al-Khoei alayhi salam? Do you realize throughout the journey towards Iraq, Imam Al-Khoei alayhi salam was saying and doing everything he could to tell people, leave? Leave. Even until the eve of Ashura, brothers and sisters, Ashura is not poetry. Even on the eve of Ashura, Imam Al-Khoei alayhi salam tells his companions and his family, says, each of you take one of my family members and ride into the darkness of the night, go to nearby villages, nearby cities, and save your own souls. They only want me tomorrow, and I will give them my blood. You are relieved. You have no duty here. But to that, the response of the companions, of the likes of Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, would say, Ya Aba Abdullah, we will die and be burned, and die and be burned 1,000 times over, and we will never leave you. His cousins, the sons of Muslim ibn Aqil, the brothers of Muslim ibn Aqil, they would come forward and they would say, Ya Aba Abdullah, will it be that the people will say, the sons of Hashim left their brother for the wolves? We will never leave you. Imam Al-Khoei alayhi salam would lift his hands in prayer and say, by Allah, I know no family and no companions better than you. But the Imam tried everything to save their lives. So protect your life. Honor your life. Hold dear your life. You are going through struggles, each one of us. I know you're going through something. We're all going through something. But please, be kind to yourself and love yourself in a way that honors the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you, which is your life and your own soul. Because sometimes we mistreat ourselves. Sometimes we hurt ourselves. And guess what? You're not just hurting yourself. You're hurting your Imam. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to the people around you. Be good to the people around you. Know that you have a sanctity. Honor that. Now, brothers and sisters, in a night like this, let's take ourselves to the children of Lady Fatima alayha salam. We're mourning her. We're mourning her last days. We're mourning her martyrdom. Lady Fatima alayhi salam, her home was attacked. They tried to take Imam Ali alayhi salam by force him to pledge allegiance. Lady Fatima alayhi salam told Imam Ali, let me answer the door. Let me respond to them. Maybe they will have some decency in remembering that I am the daughter of Rasulullah. But they had no decency. They brought wood and flame. And more than anything, my dear brothers and sisters, that they brought to that door, more than the wood, more than the flame, more than the screaming and the yelling, more than the physical attack, more than all of that, was one word. When they told the leader of their group, "You're going to burn down the house," because he said, "If Ali does not come out, I will burn down this house." And he said, when they asked him, "You're going to burn it down? وَفَاطِمَةَ فِي الدَّارِ?" Fatima's inside. He said one word. وَإِن. So what? I want to take you, my dear brothers and sisters, to mourn with me with the children of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. If I tell you this tale of sorrow, will you lend me your hearts to borrow? Will you shed a tear for Zahra? Will you remember the pain of Fatima? And if we stay here tonight until tomorrow, will you bear this tale of sorrow? Listen here to Zahra's story, a story of heartache and glory. Story of heartache and glory. Lady Fatima alayhi salam was in her last day of life. She told Asma, "Oh Asma, I wish to read the Quran and do some dua in my room. Please send my children outside to play. Please take my children outside of the home." Lady Fatima alayhi salam did not want her children to see her in her last moments. She didn't want to break their hearts in seeing her soul depart. She told Asma, "Asma, I'm going to read the Quran. I'm going to do some glorifications, some tasbih, some prayers, going to worship Allah." Imagine Lady Fatima, she would go to begin her prayers. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. She tells Asma, when you stop hearing my recitation, if you call my name and I don't answer, know that my soul has departed and I've rejoined my father, Rasulullah. Asma is waiting anxiously, and the voice of Lady Fatima finally stops. So she calls out, "Sayyidati Fatima." No response comes from Lady Fatima. She calls out again, "Ya Zahra." No response comes from Lady Zahra. She calls out one more time, "Sayyidati ya Zahra." She goes into the room.
finds Our Lady Fatima, her soul had departed. She rejoined her father, Rasulullah. She goes to her body, she begins to lament her, telling her, my master Zahra, please answer me. Asma hears the door of the house, she hears the children. She rushes outside of the room to greet the children. The children come into the home as they always would. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein, Zainab and Kulthum, Amma Asma. Where is our mother Fatima? She tells them she is sleeping. Let her rest for a while. They tell her, my mother does not sleep at this time. Where is our mother Fatima? Asma begins to cry. These children, all under the age of 7, though they're so young, they know what happened. They rush into the bedroom, they rush into the room of Lady Fatima. Al-Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam goes to that of his mother. Al-Imam Al-Hussein throws himself at her feet. Al-Hassan tells her, Umma Fatima, kallimini. Mother Fatima, speak to me. Al-Hussein at her feet, telling her, Mother Fatima, I am your beloved Hussein. Kallimini. Zainab and Kulthum are on her sides, crying on Ummah Zahra. Asma tells the children, come my children, come my children, trying to calm their tears. They're all calling out, Ya Zahra, Ummah, Ummah, Ummah. Asma tells Al-Hassan wal-Hussein, go to the masjid and tell your father Ali. Can you imagine these children needing to go to their father to tell him? They go to the masjid, they're crying. The companions come around, they say, oh sons of Rasulullah, what makes you cry? Were you just at the grave of your grandfather lamenting him? Were you crying over the grave of Rasulullah? We are all heartbroken for his loss. They say no. Ummana Fatima. Imagine the choked cries of Al-Hassan wal-Hussein. Ali looks at them, what happened to your mother Fatima? They said, our mother Fatima, her soul departed. They say, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he rushed to the house, he grabbed his sons. Imam Ali alayhi salam, overwhelmed with grief, in a state of shock, goes to the house carrying his sons. The hero, the champion, the lion comes to his home and he falls at the sight of his Fatima. Zahra, 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 أنا علي, أنا علي, أنا علي. Zahra, it is I, Ali. Will you speak to me? Zahra, will you call me by my name once more? Zahra, will you give me your voice of sorrow so that I may hear it once more? Zahra, Zahra, what is life without you, my beloved, my everything? Zahra. In the house of Zahra would continue to cry and mourn and lament. Blessed are these tears that fall from your eyes. Blessed is this grief that's in your heart. Blessed is your heart that is broken for the tragedy of our mother Zahra. Let's all together, my dear brothers and sisters, in calling out with Ali, Al-Hassan, Wal-Hussein, Zainab and Kulthum. Remember these people that we mourn them in the days of Ashura, in the days of Muharram. They mourned much earlier, and they all called out, Ya Zahra. Let's all call out together. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Together. Ya Zahra. My brothers. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Together. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept the little that we put forward and forgive all of our sins, our shortcomings, embrace us in His love and His grace through the shafa'ah of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, through this tawassul that we have with Our Lady Fatima alayhi salam, our status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we know, as the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, Fatima bid'atun minni, she's a part of me. Whatever brings her happiness makes me happy. Whatever makes me happy pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever angers Fatima angers me. Whatever angers me angers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hold on to this connection. Hold on to it for dear life and don't let go. هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على نبينا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. And brothers and sisters, just for the blessings, see these blessings that we have? Truly, truly. This is what will bring you success, not just in the afterlife, in this life. These tears, this grief, this sorrow,
this commemoration, this tribute, this is what's going to give you success. I tell you, anything I have, anything, and anything we all have, it's from these blessings. So take these blessings, gift the blessings of this to your marhumin, to the giants that we stood on their shoulders of. We all have sins, we all have mistakes, we all have things. And there's brothers and sisters, by the way, that are still alive with us today, that need our prayers. Give them these blessings. Give them Surah Al-Fatiha. There's a particular family that asked me in this majlis, they asked me, please, can we recite Surah Al-Fatiha for one of their ill ones? Let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha for all of our ill ones and all of our marhumin in the love of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. But before it, Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah.
When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When the night fell on that desert camping, a lonely voice was heard in mourning. Then she looked and saw someone approaching, one who would join her in her grieving. She had come to see her progeny and what had become of their destiny. But she could not let her to go closer. She did not want her to really see. I do not want you to go further. You will only see pain and horror. Body with no head, 72 dead. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Before you were born, my loving daughter, I was shown this by your grandfather. He told me what was to befall my son and how it would be a tragedy. My brother told me of this day as well. I knew what was to become of me. But even then I could not stand witness that. When I saw Shimmer walking to him, my mother, you can not bear to see. Arrow in his heart, liver ripped apart. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra.
زيارة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا مولاتي يا سيدة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا محمد الحسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على التسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين عليه السلام، علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا الله من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Ladies, can you please make your way toward the exit? We have to clear the room.